Alec,
Yes.
welcome. We're going to talk about Survivor Palau today.
I know
How's
it's
that?
been a while since we've talked. It's been a hot minute.
Yeah.
This is the first Survivor discussion thing that we've done over the new year. We finished Survivor Palau like weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
We did.
We
And
did. Now, if you're new to the channel, Tarqaron here. I mean, we've done Survivor since the beginning.
mhm.
Every week we talk about Survivor in some way, shape, or form.
Mhm.
Well, for the most part. Now we'll after this week we'll be taking a little bit of a break, but usually every week something Survivor related, and I've basically been taking my friend Alec here on a journey through Survivor for the first time. I'm a big Survivor fan, and Alec has become a Survivor fan through
Big
watching
time.
it
Yeah.
chronologically from the very beginning, and we're only up to season 10. We just finished Palau, but you can go
Yep.
back and watch our reviews of every single season so far, and also reactions to every episode since Thailand. That's Thailand, Amazon, Pearl Islands, All Stars, Vanuatu, and Palau. Six
Yeah.
seasons of reactions
S-
now.
Six full seasons, man. It's been a lot of fun getting ridden through this journey,
Mm-hmm.
the Survivor journey.
So it's
Do
important
you
to understand that concept to understand how like we
Yeah.
do our reviews. It's not like a lot of times some reviews will reference like future seasons. They'll talk about in comparison to where they are now and stuff like
Not here
that.
though.
But not here
Not here.
because doing things completely spoiler free. So we're not going to talk
That's
about
right.
future seasons.
I I have told people specifically to just no, don't tell me anything about, because like I think there's a season of Survivor on Netflix or something. So one of my housemates was actually telling me that he and his family have been watching it,
Mm-hmm.
and I told him like, do not tell me anything about it. Don't tell me anything. But I'm glad to hear. But basically, like just like asking him, are you guys enjoying it? That's pretty much as far as it'll go. He's like, oh yeah, we're having a great
Mm-hmm.
time. We really like a lot of the stuff going on. We're not. And then I'm like, don't say any specifics, but yeah, they found it really enjoyable. So I was like, cool. Always good to get more Survivor love out there.
Yeah, it's like Survivor is not near the level of popularity it was the season we're watching now. Like Survivor
Mm,
season 10, I think season 11 had like a huge amount of viewership as well. Like we're talking tens of millions. You know, and Australian
yeah,
Outback had the most was the most viewed season ever, and it's
right.
not near that level, but it's like finding some new love and like it's still successful in its own right, and for its slot in CBS is successful, but
Sure.
like these people were superstars back in these seasons we were watching here, you know.
Mm,
So the thing about the Netflix Survivor seasons is that
yeah.
they specifically pick like they picked like three of the best seasons of all time, like seasons that are
Oh,
considered
okay.
like some of the best ever. So
Oh, okay.
so
Yeah. So I don't even
as a new
I don't even
Survivor
know
fan,
what's. I was saying I don't even know what ones like. I like so like I've been so good about like I don't even want to know what seasons they have on there. Like I've
yeah,
told, because I think we and you were talking about it, and you had said that, so I was like, okay, well I'm not even gonna look anywhere remotely near it because I don't know want to know which season it is, because I don't want to like
mm-hmm.
have any preconceived notions or whatever of seasons. So
Yeah. But like they pick some of the best, so people getting exposed to that. There's like a whole new like Twitter group of people like making the rounds as like new Survivor fans. But it's
cool.
like you're getting it was good the way we got into it is we starting from the beginning.
Mm,
And originally when we started I was like, I don't know if you'll be interested in the if we watch the first season, I don't know if you'll be into it or not. So maybe we should jump around to the more important season, but I always like chronologically is the best way to watch it organically because
yeah.
it's like then if there's a really good season it just pops up and it's really good. It's not like okay we're gonna watch this because we've heard it's a really good season so it better be really good, you know, like and
I
you
think
start with the really good ones and then you just make your way to the ones that are left over at the end. It's
Yeah, yeah. To me, this is. I agree. I think it's better to do it organically, because then it's like you don't really have any necessarily expectations for anything. At least I don't. I mean, you do because you already kind of know a lot about the show and
mm-hmm.
everything. Um, but I think that transitions really well to start talking about Survivor Palau, um, because
Yeah.
I think I can say. I think I can say fairly confidently this is a weak season overall.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think that there were some interesting things that happened. I mean, it's first time we ever came to a tribe of one person with Stephanie. That was interesting. but it almost seemed to me like it got kind of like what like it was weird because it was like, okay, so we were basically playing like a brand new game at the end of it, like at the end of that whole scenario. So it was like half the season is gone, and like nothing substantial has really happened, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of weird, and I get it's an interesting thing. I think it's a good like that's never happened before, so I can see that like there wasn't any like last minute like, oh, we gotta shift things around and make so that Stephanie's not alone. And it's like, no, let's play this out. So like I kind of applaud them for doing that. It's just too bad because I think ultimately it kind of caused the season to suffer a lot, particularly in the first half, because there was just like not a whole lot going on really that was that interesting.
It's interesting because there are some really good Survivor moments in this. There's like some really good.
There are. Oh, there's some
beautiful Survivor, and like even down to like the drama of the final episode, like not the final tribal, but like the final 3 immunity challenge where Ian steps down, basically the closest as you can be to the finish line. He steps down, and the drama leading up to like the tie vote where it was tied between Ian and Jen. And like Tom turned on Ian because he sensed that he was thinking about turning on him, like all the way up to the like this alliance that had been going strong the whole time. They ended up turning on each other right at the end.
There was some really good drama, yeah, particularly with that relationship. There was a lot of really good drama, I would say.
And then the Ian and Katie of it all, but
Ian and Katie of it all. There was a lot of like good singular moments. I will say that like like compare this to like Thailand, which you brought up earlier. Far and away, this is way better. I would watch this again in a heartbeat. Thailand was like suffering. Like, yeah, I remember legitimately like complaining at the end of episodes. I was like, what is going on? Like, what is my life? Kind of, you know, it was like,
and it helps to not have a cloud looming over the season of like this negative incident in there. And it's like, there weren't really horrible things like that. The worst you got is when like Jinu quits.
Yeah.
But even that, I thought that episode is really good by itself. You know, it was like a.
Yeah, that was actually a really interesting and dramatic moment too, because it was like, you know, she basically sacrificed herself.
Decides to sacrifice herself, and
Stephanie
lives one more episode.
And that was drama, and that was good. It was juicy, you know.
Yeah. Because
it was so clear what was going on. It was so clear to her, it's Stephanie, what was going on, and everyone was trying to tiptoe around it, not to play their hand, but it was like, guys, it was literally like she knows, like you don't have to tiptoe around it, like she knows that you've betrayed her, basically, you know. And it's like
Ian blundered a few times, like in the season where he had moments like that where it's like egg on his
verbal
face.
gaffes, big gaffes, where he was like,
and then
where he said that to Tom, where he said that thing that was like, oh yeah, I would have. I was like, I'm glad I wasn't in that position. Yeah,
it's a tough decision to make.
It was like,
it was a tough decision.
Tough decision to make. Really? Yeah, it was like.
I love Tom though. He's like, Tom's attitude about things is so interesting. He's just like all business sometimes. He's like, oh, okay, well, based on what you said, I see that we're no longer business partners. Okay, so it's all right. I'm gonna vote you out next. Okay.
Yeah. It was very
That's how he views it.
There was some very like, interesting lines drawn and stuff. Yeah, definitely some really solid moments overall. Just the overall arc of the season was, I would say, is fairly weak.
It's like the decimation of the Oolong tribe is the most talked about thing from the season, and it's still a very talked about thing in Survivor history. I've just never really been a fan of how it played out. Like, it's very dramatic. There's like the complete decimation of a tribe. It was down to one member.
Yeah,
but just. I mean, for TV's sake, that's interesting, but it also wasn't interesting in the beginning where you had the same reasons for voting people out. It was like the weakest member.
Yeah.
And then it was like a lot of stupid drama in the beginning, especially was like Jeff and Kim. They're cuddling with each other and whatnot. That was a big piece of drama between the tribe.
And then Jeff like rolled his ankle on a freaking coconut. That like voted him out, and it was like.
Yeah. So in that way, it's like that wasn't very good TV. But then the decimation of the tribe is interesting TV because you have to get them down to one member.
Yeah.
But then and then it's a really interesting storyline to follow that one member into the merged tribe. But thinking of it practically, it's like from a game standpoint, you're at such a disadvantage. Just the fact you have to fight through so many tribal councils just to be able to go against an entire tribe now. Yeah. By yourself, it's like
it would have been a monumental achievement had she made it like super far. Like that would have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I mean, like Greg said, he was just like, that's the story, and I don't want that story to happen.
Yeah,
and I was like,
obviously,
I respect
you don't
that.
want that to happen. That's true.
Yeah, if you're playing the game, of course you don't want that to happen. You want to end that narrative because it might be interesting for ratings and for TV and for drama, but it's not interesting for you if it keeps you from getting the $1 million.
And just practically, even if they, like, she's one person, so she was expendable at any time pretty much. So it's never like she had any sort of numbers to make a comeback. It was like at any point, even if she made it further, it was like we could just cut her. Just cut her now.
Right, because it's like, and then
always the natural choice, because it's like no one's thinking, I might be able to beat her in the end. It's like no chance.
Yeah, because she was like, I mean, she was awesome. Like she was a great player. But the thing is that like, even with like her alliance she made with the beginning, she was like, the thing is that you've had, maybe if there had been some other shakeups in the tribes, or if there had been an earlier merge, or if any other number of things had happened, maybe that alliance could have stayed. But the fact remains is that she stayed over on another team for so long that like all the alliances and stuff that have gone in, those people over there, you may have made an alliance on day one with those people, but they've been with each other for like 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks. So it's like there's no way that you're ever that alliance is gonna stay. There's no way. There's just isn't. It's just not feasible. And I mean, she kind of knew that going in. And ultimately she did get voted out, but joined the jury. But hey, she made jury, so that's something.
She made jury, but for the first time, we did not have a merged tribe. She just got absorbed into Karor.
Absorbed into Karor.
And
into Corone.
And so it was weird. It was a weird dynamic because they only had to go to tribal council for the one double tribal council. Where like regardless of the immunity challenge, they would both go to tribal council, and then that's when they voted out Willard,
who was boring and no one cared about.
But then other than that, it was basically like they were starting the game at the merge because it was like their whole tribe, and like now we're gonna start voting each other out because we haven't had to the whole time. And usually that's something you have more of a back and forth pre-merge than that.
Yeah.
And they didn't do any swaps this season to even try to salvage or stop some of the bleeding on that tribe. They decided to let it bleed out.
There was no Survivor Africa going on here, where it was like, it felt very, I mean, maybe it was planned ahead of time, but it felt very much like a last minute scramble. The producers are like, this sucks. This is really bad. Like, this is, looking back at this footage, man, of the past day's shooting, this is bad. Like, we need to do something. There was nothing like that this time around. They did let it happen organically. And that's kind of what I mean. I kind of respect that they at least wanted to see how it played out.
Yeah. I imagine they never thought this would happen. It's like, I imagine they were just like, okay, well, we'll do swaps, and however it plays out, it plays out.
Yeah.
But then I'm sure they were just like, they were loving it as it was happening. I was like, okay, we're going to just see this tribe destroy itself.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is like the first half of the season was that tribe taking itself out. So it was almost like the first half of the season was pointless.
Yeah.
Like it was what led us to having Stephanie survive. But like all the inner politicking and alliances within that tribe were pointless because they don't get to do anything anyway. Like the fact that Bobby, John, and Stephanie were so close, you don't get anything from that because they had to do a fire-making challenge to stay in the game anyway. Right,
and the fact that like James was trying to do some like stuff here and there. He was kind of trying to. Seemed like he was thinking he kind of led the tribe at certain points, and nothing ever came of that because he got voted out. So. Yeah, a lot of stuff just straight up didn't happen. I mean, heck, even what's his name, rolled his ankle. We just mentioned him earlier.
Jeff.
Even Jeff. Jeff could have been a serious player had that not happened. But that happened.
Yeah.
And
let's remember back. They did have a couple points where they tried some random things. Like they tried in that double tribal council, which seemed out of nowhere, where they were just like, okay, we're just arbitrarily gonna have you both go to tribal council. And 'cause I just thought about when
The
that
save.
when that twist came up. First of all, the fact that they sent both of them to tribal council. I'm like,
Hmm.
so what if that was the one time that Oolong finally won an immunity challenge and they still had to
Yeah.
go to tribal council? That'd be the most
Right.
messed up thing.
Yeah. Seriously.
But they didn't do it, and then so there was Willard, which was like the least eventful one for it being the first tribal council that tribe has to go to. It was like surprisingly no drama to it.
No drama at all. Almost.
But then they
Like,
had the random advantage that they got for winning the challenge, is they got to sit in on the other tribe
mhm.
and save one of them after the discussion had already been done. So then
Yeah,
they
that was when they
save,
revealed then the save happened.
yeah,
Right.
they save Ibrahim, uh, and Angie gets voted out because of that.
Yeah.
And then Ibrahim then survives another tribal council after that. So like, oh, this is interesting. Maybe we'll like Ibrahim actually escape that. But it's like, no, you're gonna get taken out anyway because we're gonna get down to one. So
Yeah.
obviously you're gonna get taken out when it's Stephanie and Bobby John, even though there was a surprising amount of drama with that. Whether Bobby John was gonna vote out Ibrahim or Stephanie was up in the air
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
the very end. But it's just weird. There's a lot of different people getting screwed over in that tribe, like that
Yeah.
tribe, the poor tribe.
Yeah.
Jeff,
Really. That
Jeff
poor.
rolling his ankle.
Yeah.
Angie, having Ibrahim saved on that vote.
Angie's just getting singled out for being weird constantly by everyone.
hmm Bobby John, never being voted out, actually just losing a fire making challenge to save himself.
By like
So
3 seconds too.
yeah,
He lost it in like it was like 3 seconds. It was a minuscule amount of time. Like
Yeah.
like he lost by seconds.
And it sounds like he was probably the reason that Stephanie was able to do that fire, was him showing her early on, probably.
Yeah.
It was like screwed over. Everybody screwed over there, and then Stephanie ultimately screwed over by the fact that she has to go in as one person into this
Right.
tribe. So
Right. Even though she had day one alliances with people in that tribe. So
yeah, and the fact that's a really interesting storyline. The fact that happened that way, where it was like
yeah,
the only member that really had a connection with the other tribe.
Yeah.
Was, like she formed early on with Tom and Ian
hmm
and Katie, and like we thought there might be something there, but
yeah, but nope, they had different ideas.
Yeah.
So
they were fine letting her go,
hmm
and that's tough. So it's just a true underdog tribe through and through this
Yeah.
season, and yeah, it's
but no, it's all about Tom. It's all about Tom.
Tom.
It's literally all about Tom.
The story for Tom is like absolute dominance from beginning to
Domination.
end.
Yeah.
So
Just wrecking the competition. Alpha Tom.
like leading the challenge.
Heroic Tom.
Yeah, leading the challenge is to have them like not lose a single immunity challenge, and then like being a part of the dominant alliance for pretty much the whole post merge. Only for a moment this is like it seemingly flipped on him, but that's when they were able to get Greg voted out, and it's back in his favor again.
Mhm.
So it's like he was really sitting pretty for a while.
For
That's
sure.
interesting. So we'll also be talking later. We'll be ranking the seasons and ranking
Yep.
the winner along with all the other seasons and winners we've seen.
But yeah. No, is it so yeah, interesting season. Probably not going to be super high on my list, but it's definitely one that a lot of interesting things happened in, as we've said. So
This season is surprisingly I'm not gonna say surprisingly, but it's beloved by a lot of fans. And it's never been one of my favorites, but and for the reasons I stated, like I feel like it wasn't too much drama in the first half, and I didn't like that they just let a tribe get decimated.
yeah,
but-
like I said, I think on paper that sounds like it could be very entertaining and dramatic, but in practice, or at least this season in practice, didn't really turn out that way. At least from my perspective,
But most fans seem to speak very highly of this season, and it's
okay.
like one of their favorites. And I don't know. I know Rusty really likes this season.
Oh, okay, interesting.
So tell us if you want to tell us more. By the
Yeah.
way, if you click the link in the description, we have a new link where you can send in feedback to any of our videos, whether it be comments or questions regarding something we said or talked about in the video. You can click the link. It's a Google form,
Yeah.
and just say this is the video you're talking about, and we'll respond to it in a future video potentially. Let
Yeah,
us know.
we will read all of them.
We'll
we
read them
will
all.
read all of them for sure. Whether or not we react or do anything with them in a video, that'd be up to me and Zach to decide. But we will definitely be reading them, and we'll talk about them at least amongst ourselves. So
let us know what if you really are a huge fan of the season. What do you love about it?
Things like love to hear from you about that.
All right.
Zach might have to field that one if you make reference to future seasons, though.
Yeah, some people are more generous with what they talk about than I consider non-spoilers, so that's why some questions don't see the light of the day. It's nothing against you.
Yeah. Oh, yes, because people have submitted questions that we're actually going to talk about shortly here. So actually, maybe we should just get into those. I don't know. I don't know if you had a better itinerary, but
that works.
Yeah.
So I mean, it's interesting to talk about obviously the biggest storyline is that Oolong loses every immunity challenge. You've never seen something like that happen.
Yeah.
And so Yehoot S asks, if Karor lost all the immunity challenges, who do you think would be the last one left of Karor?
That's an interesting question.
See, the question the only thing is that isn't that basically what happens post merge? Is what's left of the tribe? So shouldn't it theoretically play out that Tom would be the last one left of Karor?
Yeah.
Because he was the last one left when it was just Karor plus Stephanie.
Yeah, I guess we could say that.
What would change things?
Well,
Tom was the best challenge performer anyway, so you'd still want to keep him. Though in this reality, I guess he's not. They're losing all the challenges, so no.
Yeah, that's difficult to say. I mean, it'd be interesting because then, God, I keep forgetting his name. Jeff would actually have.
Jeff would go on to win the season.
No, well, no. I mean, I'm not saying that, but I am saying but Jeff would have had a chance to actually do more than just rolling his ankle.
This is a reality where Jeff does not roll his ankle, and it's a reality where Jeff tribe with his power. Right.
I mean, Stephanie would have been a player, for sure. I mean, she was easily one of the hardest workers there. I feel like James may have caused some solo drama here and there. Some back and forth, maybe looked like he was trying to.
That's the other tribe. They're asking who would be the last left of Karor.
He's asking who would be the last left of Karor. That's the question.
Yeah.
I thought he was. I thought
if Karor was decimated.
Right, I thought the question was if Karor was decimated, who would be Oolong? What would happen?
No.
With that.
That's why I was saying it would probably be Tom anyway.
Oh, it would be Tom. Easily, it would be Tom. There's no discussion to be had. Forget everything I was just saying. It's Tom. It's just Tom.
Yeah. Well,
I completely misunderstood that question. It's a very simple question, but I misunderstood it somehow.
Well, here's basically the question that you thought they were asking. Chase Ferrer asks, had the season been reversed and Oolong won all the challenges and entered the merge 9-1, how do you think the season would have went?
Okay, yeah, this is more like what I was.
So let's say Tom is the one that makes it into the merge, and along with all of Oolong.
Yeah, I mean, kind of what I was saying in the previous question. I mean, I think Tom would make a case for continuing immunities, but he would have more people up against. He'd be going up directly against Stephanie, which would be tough to a degree. He would be going up against Jeff. We didn't really get to see a lot of Jeff, but I'm assuming he was a fit young guy.
Could he recover from the rolled ankle? Considering he did still have a rolled ankle, would he recover from it?
He would have to. He'd have to.
Player. Otherwise, the whole Jeff and Kim of it all, I think, would be similar to Jen and Greg, where it's we have to nip this in the bud anyway.
Yeah, there would be a degree of that, I think. Them snuggling.
And I think Stephanie and Bobby John would be similar to Tom and Ian, where they're kind of at the center of it all. Mm-hmm. Even on Oolong, Stephanie and Bobby John seem to be at the center of it all, so it made sense they were the last two. They had the most connections with everybody.
Do you think Tom would be able to do you think Tom would be able to single-handedly take on the whole tribe? You think he would continue to get immunities?
I don't think that's why I think Survivor is so much luck. So I think Tom would probably go out in a similar spot as Stephanie in that position.
Yeah, I feel like there would be some, because even towards the, he didn't win every single immunity when it was between,
He did
when it was down
yeah.
to solo immunity. So, yeah.
But
I
I mean, the question is, would he lose to any of the people in that tribe? But the
Potentially,
problem is, this is an alternate reality where they're winning challenges. So this is
yeah.
not. This is like these are
Right, so
different
they're
people.
not as demoralized as they are. They're on a riding a high, you
Yeah,
know.
but
So
this would be like a, because it's weird to say they wouldn't be good at challenges probably,
yeah,
but because they won all the challenges in this
yeah,
reality, they steamrolled.
yeah,
But it's like maybe Tom, like Stephanie could give him a run for his money, but even for the few she was there for, she did not.
mm,
Like he won all those against her.
mm.
But yeah, the odds of him winning everyone is not good. In which case,
Yeah, no,
he has the storyline that they would want to nip in the bud the same way.
right,
So
right, yeah,
I think it would have been taken out similar
yeah,
spot. And the only thing I would say that maybe Bobby, John, and Stephanie wouldn't be the ones to make it furthest is because I think a lot of the reason they did make it furthest is because they were the best at the challenges.
yeah.
And when you're the dominant challenge, not having to go to tribal council, then that doesn't matter as much. So
So it would be Tom making the goofy reaction face when he didn't swallow in time, or it would be Ian, I guess. Turn around, because remember when when they're eating Bullet or whatever, and then
Balut. Oh.
Balut, yeah,
Yeah, that one.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
That was
So that's the problem. Is like that was part of why Stephanie and Bobby
Bullet.
John made it that far, because they were the hardest working. They're the best at the challenges. So they never wanted to vote them out because they were voting out the weakest members.
Right.
But when it gets down to them in the merge, it wouldn't matter. So would the other people band together against them in some way? I don't know if they.
Yeah.
Because we didn't really see too much of like true alliances and super strategic stuff from that tribe.
It wasn't really. Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean,
We saw that the Bobby, John, Stephanie, and Ibrahim were all really close in different ways, but that's also just because they were in this situation together.
yeah, they all worked hard and did all that. You don't have like, you're not thinking about like the Angies or the what's her name?
Jolanda. So we have Jolanda,
Jolanda?
Ashley.
Oh, you don't have, yeah, Ashley. Ashley could have been,
of course,
yeah.
she might have eventually actually cuddled with Ibrahim.
Yeah, she could have had that. She should have done that. You know,
if she had more time, where she
just had
couldn't
more
be voted
time.
out. She could never be voted out until the merge, and maybe they would have cuddled by then.
That's right.
And then And then what do you know? The drama going into the merge is like Jeff and Kim are cuddling, Ibrahim and Ashley are cuddling.
It's the couple central here. It's couple central.
Everybody cuddling with everybody. James would have some funny zingers, I'm sure.
James would be like, "Boy, it's a whole snuggle fest over here."
Snuggle fest. I don't like it. And then James goes on to win in a dominant.
I think James wins. There he goes. Boom.
I can see James doing pretty well, but
I feel like James could do pretty well. It's like, to me, it's like James or Stephanie, I think. But it's so hard to say. Ibrahim or Bobby John could do.
Bobby John doesn't
really
strike me as a winner of the season. You know,
it's true.
like,
yeah, he did kind of always come across as sort of like a wet noodle. Like,
but he was very respectful and very sportsmanlike.
Yes, he was a respectful gentleman. Yes.
Tom is a man among men. Maybe he would have teamed up with Tom given the opportunity.
Maybe.
And Stephanie, if they still had that connection from day one, maybe there could have been something
That's
there.
something.
Maybe
That's something too, yeah.
More likely to let him in than he was to let her in.
Mm.
And then Tom wins. In an epic underdog story.
Yes.
Tom wins. Nice try. You tried to change the reality, but Tom still wins. He's just the underdog now, not the dominant.
It's just like, boom, yeah.
Okay, he'll win like a Chris sort of scenario.
Yeah, there you go.
But
exactly.
Like an even more underdog Chris.
Yeah.
Okay. What else? So Kobe is the first one voted out once they get to the merge.
Right.
Which he's the case of playing too hard, I guess, and a little too wild with it.
Mm.
He just didn't contain it more than he should have. Like he just came to a point where he's like, I don't care.
Yeah,
I'll say it like it is, and then it got messy for him.
Yeah, it was maybe a little early to say it like it is, you know. So.
And then only by virtue of Janu quitting does Stephanie make it another vote after that.
Right.
But that was a really dramatic episode where Janu is sent to Exile Island after already being exiled from her tribe,
for a very long time.
And so that somehow empowers her. It seems like it empowers, like it can breathe new life into Janu, but it just basically empowers her to
quit.
decide to quit.
Really, at the end of the day,
we stand quitters around here.
I mean, we don't, but I kind of applaud her because she, to a degree, that she was like, her heart was not in the game at all. Like you can't even begin to pretend that she really cared all that much. And she said, I think even in the reunion, she said that she'd do it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's like, I might be putting words into her mouth, and I'm sorry if I am, but it's like, it comes to a point where it's like when you accept that part of yourself that is giving up, it's like, rather than denying yourself and continuing to pretend that you're in it, like, it's probably a good thing ultimately that she did that. I mean, I guess you could say the same thing about Austin. The thing is, like, Austin, like, limped along for like way longer than it looked like he had any heart to. So like that was kind of like, that was where I was like, there's a little bit of a fun, like, Janu would have been voted out like really early on if they had lost something, but she was kind of getting like dragged into the whole thing by virtue of the fact that their team kept winning. Mm-hmm. You know, so it's like
yeah, but for some reason that episode was just so really well done.
It was, yeah, like, no, that was a very interesting, dramatic episode. Lots of it's back and forth. Stephanie trying to scramble. Stephanie realizing
and the
that
tribal
things
council was really good. The emotional tribal council where she's like,
yeah,
she's just crying because she's sitting next to this person who doesn't want to be there, and they're gonna vote her out, who really wants to be there. And that's like the whole philosophy of the game is like,
it's brutality right there.
Like, no one deserves. There's no deserving, and this is Survivor.
Yeah.
Forget someone said something like that.
I think it was Greg. Greg was saying it's like there's no deserving or something like that. I think it was Greg.
Ian might have even said that. I don't know.
Ian may have said it too. Yeah.
But Greg definitely was with that mentality of like, you know, I don't want the best player, most deserving player against the end. I want the person who I can beat. So,
right.
So yeah, after Stephanie voted out, then the epic Greg vote comes though, where it was like a true blindside, and then the whole moment where Ian decides to tell Katie. The original plan was they were gonna blindside her as well, and then in the moment hope that she would switch her vote as a self-preservation thing. But instead, Ian gives her a heads up and says, "All right, we're voting Greg, so you can either force a tie and risk it all, or you can just flip and vote Greg with us." And that's what she did. And so that was probably the most epic. It was definitely the biggest blindside of the season.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Maybe the only blindside of the season, really.
Yeah,
maybe a couple in Oolong, but I think the post
maybe ones were
pretty spelled out.
I was gonna say maybe where Katie voted with Ian, where it seemed like she might not have, when they were kind of on the outs a little bit.
So Karen gets voted out. That was a big part of the season. Was that like Tom? Apparently, it turned out to be a really good move for Tom to get close to Karen, because that number ended up being crucial for him to be able to take out Greg in that spot and make it further. But he got Karen as his like number one side piece, but then Ian had his number one side piece, Katie, and that ultimately ruled over that, and Karen was voted out next. And ultimately the final four, the tie vote between Ian and Jen, because Tom actually votes against Ian in that moment because of Ian's blunders.
Ian's big mouth.
But Katie came in clutch for him and voted out Jen. Questionable decision. There were a couple questionable decisions from Katie. If you look back at the opportunity where the women could have banded together, it seems like it probably would have been a much better route for Katie, considering her arc was that she got to skate to the end and then just get destroyed in the final tribal by
Yeah,
everybody.
that final tribal where everyone just like raked her over the coals. Like it was rough.
So I feel like she was probably fighting a losing fight ever since the merge. I feel like if people
Because
felt that way, but
she didn't really she didn't seem like she was a very nice person to everybody in the tribe, which probably is not going to help you in the end.
But the women probably would have been her better route. Probably would have looked a little better sitting next to, like, especially Jen, than sitting next to Tom, the perfect man.
Right, because then you could make the argument. It was like, oh well, I played them and then swung. I did what I had to get ahead.
Yeah, with that swing, it would have been crucial. Yeah, that would have been a more interesting storyline. Other, like, different than going to the final tribal with the person you rode the coattails of, and then that's where your pitch is to win the season. Is you rode his coattails.
Yeah, yeah, that was basically what she said. It was like,
but he's there. But he's there. How are we gonna pick you? He's there.
Yeah.
You ride the coattails and then you cut the throat of the coattail person. That's what you have to do.
Right.
If you want to get any credit for anything there.
She couldn't do it. She could have painted Tom as a malicious, wicked person. With that, apparently, Kobe kind of thought that he was sort of. He was like convinced that Tom was evil somehow. That was like
tough. I mean, you go into the final tribal. There was nothing she could say to win that.
No.
So
not
the
at all.
point is, you should not have been there. You should not have been in that position. You shouldn't have put yourself in the position you were with Tom and Ian like that. Like,
yeah,
you had to take some agency. Like, there is this certain sense of floating by in the game can be a strategy. It can get you far, but it won't. It'd be hard to get you to win in that circumstance, unless someone's really bitter, if someone's really brutal. Like if you were up against maybe Boston Rob, and that's like an all-star, that kind of thing.
Right.
You really have to have a reason to vote against that person a lot to want to vote for a true floater like that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean so we had Final Four fire making a tiebreaker, then we had Final Three where they're standing up there for 12 hours or something. Maybe
this is
longer.
Crazy. Yeah, it was a long time.
And then Ian just like, all right, I'm gonna step down to salvage my friendship with Tom and Katie after everything he's done. I'm gonna step out, and he wants Tom to vote him out so that Katie can go to the end.
Right.
Incredible.
Yeah, it was pretty incredible. They didn't even have to go. They didn't even do a tribal. They did like a makeshift one because it was so late.
Yeah, they've never done that before. Where they
never done that
tribal
before.
Council. They just like,
at all.
Do we need to do that? You're just voting.
We're just gonna vote here. Okay. Yeah, that was kind of wild. No ceremony.
So
that's like communion without any bread. What is that? It's like
it's dramatic in a different way. But the fact that it was like it's such a dramatic moment, but it ultimately led to like the most anticlimactic final tribal because this was a layup for Tom then.
Yeah, it was.
And it was like, you really just gave up so that Katie can go on and get demolished in final tribal, really?
Yeah, I was like, wow, how chivalrous of you. taking an L so your lady.
Thank you.
Yeah, you true cock energy. Yeah, taking an L so your lady can take 9
destroyed by another man.
Yeah, get
final tribal.
No, taking an L so your lady can take 9 L's from everyone on the
No, it is true cuck energy because he bowed out so that he could watch her get destroyed by another man.
Destroyed. True cuck energy. Yeah, absolutely.
So one thing I just remembered, someone commented this. I took a picture of the comments and somehow the comments got lost, but I was able to get most of them. And there was one I couldn't remember what it was, and I think it was this. So I don't remember who said it, but they wanted me to bring up the fact that apparently in the final immunity challenge, Jeff introduced a rule. It was saying you have to switch to 1 foot, stand on 1 foot now, instead of standing.
I didn't remember that. This was
off camera. He introduced this rule, and Tom fought them on it, and he said, "No, that's not the rule you started with. I'm not gonna do that and just have some slip up." And he basically fought him out of doing that, and then so they just like, okay, we'll just keep it the way it was. You just stand there.
That's so that what?
So he convinced them not to do it because he was like, "These aren't the rules that you set. So like you told us the rules in the beginning, and now you're changing them. That's not fair." So he was like, he talked the producers out of switching the rule in the challenge. So
that's wild because they've done that, but they've changed the rules before. They can do. Why can't they? I don't get why they can't.
In what way
do that.
though? In which challenge? Because like they've done stages of challenges, but they knew it was gonna shift ahead of time. So Tom's argument was that,
I guess that's true. Now that you say that, I guess the only thing I can think of that's comparable is the temptation offers. Be like, you step down now, you can get this pizza or whatever. There's nothing like.
But Tom's argument was that he didn't want to slip up of some stupid thing after these weren't the rules ahead of time.
That's interesting. They probably should have specified. Yeah, I guess I can, now that you mentioned that, I guess I can kind of see his perspective. I would feel that way too, because I'd be like, why you should have said something in the rules, maybe like, take note that if you stay long, this will get harder. Mm-hmm. You know, you stay a long period of time.
Mm-hmm. So he basically Tom
strong-armed the producers,
and even.
Tom still won. He beat the freaking producers at their own game by saying, "Hey, you get." Yeah. Tom wins. Tom wins the argument. You know?
Thoroughly dominant throughout the season. Tom.
Yeah.
To the bitter end.
Dominant Tom. Tominant.
So another question that, Brian Thomas asked, if the producers had picked the tribes to begin the season rather than have the tribes pick themselves, who has the best shot at winning the season now that the decimation of Oolong no longer occurs? So that's the good point, is in the beginning, when you go on to the beach, they had this race for 2 immunity necklaces. And this was a whole thing, because then Ian and Jolanda are the tribe leaders. They get to do a schoolyard pick, and then the people pick from then on. And then the 2 people left over. The first season we had 20 players.
Yeah.
The 2 people left over at the end, they're out. Day 2.
Out.
So, I mean, it's the first time they've ever had people be eliminated before day 3 in a Survivor season. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it was the first time they had 20 players in a Survivor season, but ultimately just ended up being 18 after day 2 anyway. So poor Jonathan and Wanda did not get much time to play. Jonathan's biggest mistake, ironically, was one that Stephanie also made. It was jumping out of that water boat and trying to swim. Made for a really
cool shot. Made for a really cool shot in the intro.
Yes. But then it was a very sad moment early in the pilot episode, the premiere, where they both jump out and they're just like, "Oh, this is a mistake," immediately.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, we were actually going way faster in the boat," and I was like, "Yes, I could have told you that, and I can't swim."
So that's another interesting piece of history, is that it was a schoolyard pick, and they picked the tribe that would ultimately be decimated. You know. Yeah,
it's just that's kind of wild. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's really tough to say. I mean, I think Jolanda had it. She was kind of awesome. Like, that was why, but that's why they got rid of her, is because she was like super strong, very kind of alpha, like big alpha energy. She had a
challenge where they were supposed to like pick up certain crates of stuff.
Yeah.
And she was like, they're wasting too much time, I guess. I think that's what it was. But yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what Jolanda gets put out first.
Mm-hmm.
But so that's interesting. If the producers had picked the tribes,
who has a shot? I mean,
so let's just say if the most even footing of everybody, you know, it's still going to be some level of luck even when they do pick the tribes.
Yeah.
And how things shape up. But on paper, who would have the best shot out of everybody?
I think Ian was a very likable person. He seemed to get along extremely well with a lot of people. He also was a fierce competitor.
Mm-hmm.
He could have probably been in alliance with whoever he wanted to. So, I mean, I think he stood a decent chance of doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm. I'm inclined to think that Tom would still do really well, but also a lot of things with Survivor is very circumstantial. It could just be that he was with the right group of people for him to be dominant, and if he was with some other people, it'd be like, oh wow, this guy's really on my nerves. Yeah, like, he's way too controlling and front and center.
Yeah, all kinds of, there could be, he might not gel with a certain group, right? If it was like him and Bobby John, maybe they wouldn't gel as well
And
as
they
you would think they
probably
might.
would want to do something like that. They would producers would probably want to put him against someone that he would have friction with.
Right. Because that makes for entertaining TV. So,
yeah.
So
it's tough. I mean, because it's hard. We don't know that reality. We still know that Tom was still the best player that season, but it's hard to say. But
yeah, real hard to say. But
it's like no one on Oolong strikes me as someone who really could have thrived that much.
Yeah.
Outside of there, like if they were in a better position, but it's just hard to know. We don't know. It's like maybe Angie would have been great. Angie could have still been great. Like she kind of got randomly snubbed there from that saved vote, and then like the fact that even when they saved Ibrahim, all the votes were kind of spread out.
Yeah,
they didn't have time to like.
Yeah,
join
it was
forces.
very.
If they had voted together, they probably could have gotten Bobby John out in that position.
Right.
Because I think like Stephanie wanted Bobby John out at that spot, or tried to vote him out there. So there could have been something there where she could have been more successful, but
yeah.
So some of these players are more wild cards. Like if you see someone just a truly demoralizing setting like Oolong, and just like it's not the same.
No, yeah, for sure.
Where Tom was, dominant the whole season, but he was getting like food and he was chilling the whole time.
Yeah.
Also, another iconic moment was when he got the shark. It was another big moment.
Yeah, killing a shark. Yeah, that was great. Yeah. Iconic Survivor moment.
Yeah. There's some fun stuff this season.
Oh, yeah.
Chase Fair also said, if the girls had voted out Tom at 7, how would the season have finished? So when they brought up the idea that they could have banded together, that would have been Katie, Karen, Jen, and Stephanie voting out Tom. So it would have been Katie, Karen, Jen, Stephanie, Greg, and Ian. That's the final 6. That's a really good spot for Stephanie, I feel like. But
yeah, that's a really good spot for her.
Just by the virtue is if the girls do stick together, she can actually potentially win out challenges. Yeah. But there's also the potential that Greg and Jen reconnect. Something there, and maybe they convince them to vote out Stephanie at least.
Jen actually maybe starts playing the game, and starts strategizing. But Ian and Katie is still a thing. There's still a thing there. Yeah. So there would have been maybe there could be rocky, but
there wouldn't have been straightforward like women will stick together for sure. You don't know.
Yeah. It's like maybe we stuck together for this vote to make it better for each individual kind of thing. But maybe that alliance is rocky. That's interesting. That I think that would have been that would have made a very a more dynamic season.
Yeah.
Fluid. It would have been a more fluid season.
More chance. I think all of them could have had there's a path to the end for most of them.
Yeah, Ian's got a path to the end. I think Greg certainly.
I'd have trouble seeing Jen win against anybody except if Jen against Katie. I could see potentially Jen winning that, but
because I was like she wasn't horribly abrasive to everyone.
There's a lot of conditions for Jen and Katie to happen though. Like neither of them win competitions, so it's really hard for that to happen. They have to get out the competition beast and then win that last one in order to get there. So it still is like Stephanie could have had a good shot if they didn't turn it on her, and she could have won immunities potentially. But you still have Greg and Ian who are both capable of winning immunities as well. Yeah, and they all have connections, so it would have been much more open. Yeah. Josh also wanted me to mention that Kobe named his daughter after Janu. So
interesting.
I think they mentioned the reunion that Janu would be the godmother.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I don't know. I don't think they mentioned that he actually named his daughter after Janu.
Yeah, I don't remember that, but
he also wanted me to show you this.
Wow.
This little observation. I'm going to send you a link.
Okay.
But it's kind of stupid, but
it's kind of okay.
I guess it's talked about.
It's talked about in the Survivor community.
Yeah.
Okay.
So just look. There's 2 pages. Look at page 1 for now. Whatever the one that pops up.
Okay. Page
Just whatever one
Okay.
pops up. Just, Willard looks like the immunity idol. It's the thing.
He does. That's okay. That's really entertaining. That's kind of amazing. Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's the thing.
Yep. I love how that's phrased. Can you identify which one it is?
Yeah, it's like one of those identification things.
Yep.
So you're
Yep.
not a CAPTCHA.
Yeah.
You're not a robot.
That's really good.
Okay, so this, before you get to the second page.
Okay.
Well, it's kind of what I mentioned before. Is that originally, well, no, this is the first time we didn't have a merged tribe. They absorbed Karor into, or absorbed Stephanie into Karor just based on how things went.
Right.
But they had planned on having a merged tribe, and so the number 2 is just what the merged tribe buff would have looked like.
That's it. That's what it looked like. So, okay.
So they have brown and blue were the 2 colors to start. So they would have had this like the full on army color. It was going to be the
army green
color.
That's cool because especially because Palau was like they had like a bunch of naval and air force like wreckage and stuff down there.
But I don't know how like where this came to be, or they just had this available in the shop or at some point, because people actually have this. Some people have this buff. It's like a bit of a collector's item.
Interesting. I like it. Yeah. I think it's cool. It would have been cool because we've never really had colors that are just straight up the army green like that. So at least not that I remember. Mm-hmm. So that would have been kind of cool. But no,
it's interesting that they they had planned on it, but it's like, okay, well, this tribe's gone, so we're just gonna make her part of Karor.
Interesting.
That's pretty much all for the questions. Oh, there was one that said, "How does Tom?" Chase Ferrier said, "How does Tom rank among Hatch, Boston Rob C, Fairplay, Brian, and Chris?" That's, I guess, some of the better players to play. But I guess we can talk about that a little after we do the rankings.
Let's do some of the rankings. Right.
But yeah, so in terms of trivia, we went through most of it as we went through. It was the first season of 20 people, even though only 18 really got to play.
Yeah.
First time any people were eliminated before day 3. They had a double tribal, which is a bit of a twist to the season.
Mm-hmm.
The first time we decimated a tribe and had 2 members have to go to head-to-head in fire making.
Mm-hmm.
First time there was no merge, so the Stephanie was just absorbed.
First time there's the tribe of 1.
They had the tribe of 1 at Exile Island. The tiebreaker challenge in the final 4 was the first tie vote since Marquesas. Which was season 4.
Oh yeah, it had been a while, hadn't it? Yeah.
So there was a lot of threats of going to ties at certain points, but they never went through mostly because people are terrified of having to go to the rock draw.
Right.
The purple rock with Marquesas, and I think the only reason they didn't do that, I guess, in the final 4, that's just the rule for the final 4, is they'd have to be fire making. I guess this is why there wasn't a purple rock draw thing for this one.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's because usually it's the 2 people are safe that were tied on in the vote, and everybody else would be immune. And I guess, because in that case, the other person would be Tom, who had immunity. And then who was the 4th? No, it was Tom, Ian, Katie, Jen.
And Jen.
So
right,
Katie,
Jen.
No, because Ian and Jen were the ones that were voted on. So Katie was the 4th.
Right.
So I guess the rule is that as a fire making challenge as a tiebreaker, rather than, because otherwise it would just have to be Katie gets voted out by default.
Yeah.
Because she's the only one immune. Or not immune in that.
And not
situation.
immune, yeah.
So, yeah. Huh. And then it was the first time they didn't have an actual tribal council to vote someone off with Ian.
Yeah. A lot of firsts, but even though it was all kind of weird.
Some weird stuff they tried out.
Yeah.
So now we'll go into Survivor Superlatives. All right, this is where we're going to give out some rewards rewards to the different players. Okay. First off, Alec's favorite player award. Who's the go-to? Favorite player of the season.
My favorite player of the season. This is something. It's tough. I'm torn between two people.
Mm-hmm.
Because even though Tom's the big shot, Tom's big shot, he's actually wasn't my favorite player. I respect Tom a lot. But it's actually
and all
between
the work he did.
all the hard work he did. But it's really between Ian and Stephanie for me. Stephanie had all the odds against her, but she was the last person in her tribe. She actually survived for a long enough period of time through a stroke of luck in one aspect. I think I got to give it to Ian. I think I got to give it to Ian. Yeah, I mean,
Blunderbuss himself.
Blunderbuss himself. There's something goofily relatable about that guy. Even in like the define the relationship. Yeah, the define the relationship talk, which I cringed at, but I was like, the only reason I'm cringing is because like I've been in these sort of discussions before, so it's like a yeah, it's just like when emotions are running high, man, it's just like you do weird, stupid things like that. Fall on the floor. Yeah. Right on the beach. Yeah. And like, being gallant.
You got to give up your chance at $1 million to find out free.
And true cuck energy. Yeah. It's just like, I mean, you gotta throw the man a little respect for the gallantry. But I don't think I would have done that in that scenario. Maybe I'm not a big enough man, I suppose. But
right.
I thought, yeah, I liked Ian. I did.
Okay. Wow.
An interesting arc and a dynamic arc throughout the season. He didn't just steamroll like Tom. There was like some genuine little bits and pieces of drama, him flubbing and so.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think Tom would be my favorite probably. I just love his attitude. The way he talks is so different from everybody else.
The way he talks, it's fascinating. It's actually fascinating the way he sort of talks.
I love the way like you said, he gaslights people. I love that about him.
I just love gaslighting.
Strong arming. I like the strong arming. Tom sucks today. Katie said.
Yeah, Tom sucks today.
Yeah.
You know that you believe that you can trust me, right? Because I say this.
You're talking to me, right? You're coming to me, so
coming to me for it. So it's Yeah.
But then like the way he talks about like everything's so business and matter of fact is like, oh well, she broke rank first, so naturally we're gonna have to work together on this one. And it's like, oh, it was a difficult decision. It wasn't a difficult decision for me. I was gonna keep you no matter what. Now I'm gonna push you out. Okay.
Yeah, it's just like boom.
Just like that.
It's just very.
It's almost like somehow he had such power over these people.
It's weirdly, dare I say,
Brian?
Donald Trump. I was gonna say Donald Trump energy, almost in a way.
Energy. Don't do my boy like that.
Just like you don't do my boy Trump like that. I used
my boy Trump.
Not
my boy Trump.
Okay.
I know my boy Tom. Thank you very much.
I know. I'm kidding. It's like I used to watch The Apprentice. do my boy Trump like? I mean, you could have said that about the entire Trump presidency. You could say, don't do my boy Trump like that. Trump.
Really, they exaggerated a lot about him.
About Tom?
Tom.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Totally. I mean, that was just there was some interesting. Yeah, there was a lot of energy. I mean, Tom is right up there as a favorite of mine for sure. But I just like the gumption of Stephanie and just Ian. Aw shucks, relatable Ian. It's just really fun. So,
all right, who's the cutie of the season?
There were like lots of like, I don't want to throw total shade. There wasn't like anyone that I was like immediately like, wow, this person's just absolutely beautiful.
There was someone you were like, wow. So
yeah, I did say that about. Let's not forget
Ashley.
Let's not forget Ashley. Exist. I forget her name all the time, but she did exist. She was in the season. She was quite cute. I think when it comes down to it, I think even though the fact that Katie was very off-putting and that she's probably the kind of person that I would find very distasteful in the competition because of how abrasive she was. She's pretty cute. I think I have to give it to Stephanie because like she reminded me of like girls in high school that I liked, with that sort of like very like scrappy and go get 'em and tough kind of attitude. And like there's something that's like there's something that's very like, I don't know, something that's really kind of attractive about that sort of like attitude where it's like I'm gonna go for it, I'm gonna try as hard as I can, and the results be damned, but at least I gave it my all. And like that to me is like that energy mixed with the fact that she's cute. I think I give it to her.
And she's a Jersey girl.
Is she? That's right. I guess she is. Yeah. Representing Zach, the hometown pride for Zach.
Don't forget Jen though. Jen
she's an attractive lady.
Jen's great.
She's cute. She is.
Also, okay, so now what is your favorite intro shot of the season? Do you remember?
Ian.
Give it to Ian. You like to do.
The that I did like every so often. I think it was Ian. There was another one that was really good too that we talked about a few times. But I can't remember.
I mean, I like Jonathan diving in. I like that one.
Yeah, those shots that shot was pretty cool. Yeah.
Bill, I'd have to watch it back.
Yeah.
Have to watch it back. Previously, so
I'm still thinking of Rob's smile. That's all I can think of. It's just from 2 seasons ago. I was like,
Ian joins the likes of Sarge, Rob Cisternino, Johnny Fairplay, and Shauna as the winning intro shots of the last few seasons. Okay. So
good
yeah, Rob was a nice smile. I think Shauna had a really good smile too. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I think Johnny Fairplay had like a roar, or what did he do?
Yeah, he was like,
or the hug.
I can't remember. Yeah. Oh no, I can't. No, I think Rob Mariano, Boston Rob, had the roar. But I think we both like Sister Nino's smile because he just has just a nice smile. He was having a good time.
And so the winner of the MVP award, which is one that has been accruing all throughout the season, where Alec got to name an MVP for every episode.
Yeah. So
the winner of the MVP is a tie between Stephanie and Tom.
Wow.
With 3 MVPs each. And the runner-up is Kobe with 2 MVPs. Kobe was an early favorite of yours.
He was. I liked Kobe a lot early on. Yeah. So
the last award to give out is the Pre-Jury Gem Award, which was introduced last season with Rory.
That's right. That's right. We did that. Yeah.
So your options consist of everyone in Oolong except for Stephanie plus Willard. So you got Jonathan, Wanda, Jolanda, Ashley, Jeff, Kim, Angie, Willard, James, Ibrahim, Bobby John.
Oof. This is really, it's like you could like flip a coin or like roll a D20 or something to like decide. I don't know. Probably James. I remember being kind of entertained by James. Like I kept thinking like he could be a really interesting part of this, and then it ended up not being that way. So
James.
Yeah.
That's fair.
James
Who was the other one you were thinking of? Wanda?
No, I mean that's why I said I could roll a D20 because it's like picking between I don't know.
I'm partial to Wanda in that situation.
You know, we on our broadcast we missed on our recording. We had to go back and watch it on a YouTube video because they cut it out of the recording or something. But
Wanda singing,
our version of it, Wanda singing, and I was like, "That what a nice wholesome thing." I can't believe
they took out her whole personality.
Yeah, I was like, that was so fun. She was cute.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Wanda ultimately robbed in a scenario where in a scenario where the producers did not have the schoolyard pick. That's who would be the most likely to win is Wanda.
Why? Because she
She
didn't
just
even
needs
get an
some
opportunity
time.
to
She
shine.
needs some time to get in there.
Yeah.
You gotta understand.
That's right.
Without the schoolyard pick, she would have been in there. She would have been on one of the tribes, and she would have
That's right.
worked her magic. And then they would have had to cut out like a segment of every episode with all her singing. You know,
No.
she'd probably be singing every episode. And they have to cut chunks out for Paramount Plus. It would just butcher the whole
Cut
season. Her final tribal, where she sings in a whole segment, would have been just cut.
Yeah, just cut it out. We can't have any singing. No, it's copyright.
Okay, now it's time to rank the season.
Okay.
Previously, your rankings were Pearl Islands, Vanuatu, the Amazon, the Australian Outback, Borneo, Marquesas, All Stars, Africa, Thailand. Where does
Could you go through that one more time again?
Pearl Islands, Vanuatu, the Amazon, the Australian Outback, Borneo, Marquesas, All Stars, Africa, Thailand.
We might want to move Vanuatu down a peg, maybe.
The recency bias.
It was recency bias, yeah. I think it probably was.
So switch it with Amazon.
I think that's good. I still really enjoyed Vanuatu. It was an enjoyable season. There's a lot of good stuff in it, but Amazon is like very special to me. We had a lot of fun with that one. I think for me this is like right around Africa. It's like right around Africa for me. It's kind of where I'm at. I think I might put it right below Africa.
Second to last, only above Thailand.
It's right around there.
So you're fine with Pearl Islands, the Amazon, Vanuatu, the Australian Outback, Borneo, Marquesas, All Stars, Africa, Palau, Thailand.
Let's put Australian Outback up one further too.
Up one, above Vanuatu.
Above Vanuatu. Put it up. Vanuatu got recency bias because it was a fun season that I was unexpected. I was feeling it. I mean, I still am. That was a great season. I had a lot of fun with that one.
I had Vanuatu pretty high too.
Yeah.
I almost feel like I had recency bias as well. My rankings were Pearl Islands, the Amazon, Vanuatu, Borneo, Marquesas, the Australian Outback, All Stars, Africa, Thailand. So I would probably drop Vanuatu down. We're really due for a rewatch on the first couple seasons, I feel like.
Yeah.
I feel like we forget the magic of Borneo sometimes. So
we do forget the magic of Borneo. It was magic. And that's what I mean. When you went through it again, I was like, no, Outback, like I loved that season. And I think it's like it is one of a fan favorite for sure. And I can see why. To me, there was a lot about that season that was really
I have that one lower than most
magic.
people.
Yeah.
But it would probably go up if I watched it again. Africa, I know there are some people that really like Africa. I feel like that might be better on a rewatch also, because you did have iconic characters in Africa. You had Big Tom, Lex, and Ethan as the winner. There's this and there's some iconic. It's a really unique setting. You know, it was apparently one of the hardest seasons to actually be a part of, like the hardest conditions ever too.
I was gonna say, because like most of the other seasons are all in tropical sort of locations, and I think technically Africa is in a tropical setting, like in terms of like latitudinally, but the thing about it is that they weren't near water, you know, like it's a fascinating setting. It really is. I just wish the season had been a little bit more interesting, but as you were just saying, pre-merge it was But as you said, there is still some we still got a lot of value out of that season.
No, a rewatch might be better because like those seasons aren't as fresh in our mind as the ones we watched every episode of or talked about every episode.
Right.
Because we marathoned like a lot of those first couple seasons back to back.
So a lot of it kind of blends together in our brains, I think. So
but
maybe someday, but we get a lot of Survivor to catch up to.
I just feel like maybe you'd have more appreciation of Lex in retrospect.
I might,
You liked him in All Stars.
Quite a lot, yeah.
All
I
right,
just
so
didn't like him for some reason, and I remember when we were watching it. You're right. There was
yeah,
some reason I didn't like him.
Vanuatu, I have his third. So I mean, Vanuatu had like a great cast, that's for sure.
That was I think that was the thing we both liked so much about it, is that they had such a good cast. It really did.
And Chris with the true underdog story, he
Yeah.
really got in there. But Borneo might be above it.
Give it a kung fu chop.
Tough. It's tough. That's the Amazon. But
I know.
okay.
I know. It is.
I'm gonna put Borneo at 3, Vanuatu at 4. But now where do I put Palau?
That's the real question. That's the question on the table.
I think I'll put it at the same spot for now. Right after Africa, before Thailand.
Yeah, we could maybe reevaluate at some point, but I think that's an accurate assessment of, I think, my feelings of the season. So
it's like there's a lot to enjoy from it, but it's like it felt like it was really rote early on. Just gonna go through. Okay, and here's another Oolong member, another weakest member. So, okay, the winner ranking. All right, see where Tom falls. So far, you have Richard, Brian, Chris, Sandra, Vesepia, Tina, Ethan, Amber, Jenna. We're talking about ranking the best of the winners, not the favorite.
Tom is just a dominant force, man. You think of Tom, it's like an energy. You know, it's like man against nature. No, it's man against Tom. You know, it's tough. It's really tough.
Well, yeah.
Tom's like way up. Tom's right up towards the top to me. I might put him. He didn't have an underdog story like Chris. I think that's why I have Chris up so high. But he was a dominant force.
You didn't need an underdog story.
He didn't need one. He was freaking a dominant force. I think I might put him. I'm right around the Chris area. Chris and Brian. I'm like right in that area, and I might just wedge him in between, right after Brian. I think that's it.
After Brian.
Yeah. Iceman himself, Mr. Freeze.
Previously, my rankings were Richard, Brian, Chris, Tina, Sandra, Vesepia, Ethan, Amber, Jenna. I'm tempted to put Tom after Richard. If not above Richard Hatch. Look, I'm thinking there's got to come a point where Richard Hatch is not number one.
Yeah, I mean,
just
I might.
The originator of the game doesn't mean you're always number one, right?
Yeah, it's true.
There's got to come a point.
It's just you gotta respect the hustle of that man.
It's
you know, he did such a good job. But also,
you
had like a freaking
pave the way for better players to come. You know.
Yeah, and this. I mean, he's up there. He's right up there.
But Tom is also not. He's like not super. He's not like puppet master.
Yeah,
that's not what he is. He's not.
He's just a force. That's what I mean. He's just
a different kind of player. But I think I would put him above Brian. Only because Brian was never in danger. Tom was never in danger, but Brian also only won by 1 vote against
Tom ran a cleaner. Tom ran a cleaner game. That's for sure.
So the fact that he won in dominant fashion, and I feel like he would have probably won in dominant fashion against most people, and people like it was no secret. That's what's so weird about it. It's almost Brian-esque in that he's like, he doesn't seem like he's that like that perfectly charismatic to have people fooled, you know, with his ways. And people can tell he's strong-arming people and stuff like that, but like it's still everything goes his way in the end. He's barely threatened, like for 1 vote. Like if the women turned on him, then that would have been bad.
Right.
And if at the Greg vote, if he didn't have Karen, but he had Karen under his thumb.
Karen is a toady, basically, yeah.
So it's hard to find a flaw because I'm trying to find what can you say is wrong with Tom's game?
Yeah,
he's
really,
doing things that traditionally would be wrong, like being so much of the leader role, so much of the super strong in challenges role.
He he even called out at one point. He's like, don't
hold
use
it
that.
against me, guys.
Don't hold it against me that I'm so amazing, basically.
Yeah.
Like, but he did it in like a weirdly. It was like the most humble brag of all time,
and
kind of.
Like, yeah, okay, Tom, and they proceed to let him win the game.
Yeah, okay, Tom proceeds to allow him to win.
Like we're gonna ignore the fact that you're so good at challenges. Let them lose a challenge and say, crazy. So your rankings are Richard, Hatch, Brian, Tom, Chris, Sandra, Vesepia, Tina, Ethan, Amber, Jenna. Mm-hmm. Mine are Richard, Tom, Brian, Chris, Tina, Sandra, Vesepia, Ethan, Amber, Jenna. You get a little bit of a rhythm at the end there. What do you get to Ethan, Amber, Jenna's?
Ethan, Amber, Jenna.
It seems like we're both in agreement. Ethan, Amber, Jenna, the bottom three.
Ethan, Amber, Jenna. Yeah.
It's hard to dispute it.
It's hard to say one way or the other.
But Tom, okay, so the question before was, how does he rank among like some of the better players
of the
Boston
game?
Rob, Johnny Fairplay, Rob Sesternino.
So it's interesting because you did talk about earlier how he does have a very like straightforward and a very like, this is the way it is. He does talk to people in a certain strong-arming, gaslighty way, I guess. Mm-hmm. I guess it's one way of talking about it.
He's not like the kind to go and like tell one person something and then tell another person another, and like, or turn people against each other, or even like Rob Sesternino and Johnny Fairplay where they have to flip back and forth. Like, they didn't have to do any of that.
They had an underhanded gameplay style.
Yeah.
And a sly one. Tom, you could not describe as sly. Mm-hmm. He was just kind of he just put it all out there pretty much most of the time, and he was pretty straight talker.
He was somehow well insulated the whole time, despite being front and center, like the leader and that guy the whole time.
Yeah, it's really interesting that's the case.
Mm-hmm.
That's what happened. That's how it happened. But I mean, he's up there because just for the simple fact that the matter is that he was able to sort of dominate the whole game, whether it was in challenges, whether it was socially, like that's impressive when you can do that. Mm-hmm. You know,
like, is he a better player than Boston Rob, Johnny Fairplay, Rob Sesternino? None of them won, but they all had to, like, they all did more. It feels like.
Yeah, they did more. They went through it. Like, they had to like really, because Tom did have to do some strategizing at some points, you know, but a lot of it was like felt more not calculating, but felt more like rudimentary planning, I guess, and then just having to sort of go through the motions.
Just have a game plan, stick to it. Like, you got your
stick
alliance.
To it. You didn't have to like play.
See, like, he had his alliance. He was just gonna stick with the alliance, and then he sees someone potentially gonna break rank, and he's like, okay, well, we need to deal with that. And he deals with that. Yeah,
it's methodical. It's like a methodical gameplay. It's not fast and loose like Johnny Fairplay, where he's able to like slyly get through and where he can.
Trying to play the puppet master and all that.
Right.
So is he a better player though?
It's hard to say. I mean, like, he's more dominant in challenges, but as a player overall, he definitely has to be up there in consideration because of how dominant he was. But I think in terms of a full game, probably not. But he belongs in the conversation.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting. Like, if you run a simulation, like, these players all get to play a certain amount of times. So, like, theoretically, that would be how you determine the best player. They get to play 100 times, not knowing the other players. Then, like, how would they do? Would you put your money on Boston Rob, Johnny Fairplay, Brian, Tom? Which one? Rob Sesternino. Like, what kind of player would you put your money on? Like, I mean, a lot of these best players, Johnny Fairplay, Boston Rob, Sesternino, did not win. They all made it very close. Yeah. But they didn't win.
Right, and he's the one who won. He's the one who won.
But I almost think they'd have a better chance at making it further every time, and not winning. Yeah. Because Tom, like like I was saying, if he was with the wrong people, like it would probably rub people the wrong way. Having
Because of
him
how
be
dominant he
there.
was.
Yeah.
He's a threat, right? So people could take that as an opportunity to get him out early on, or what have you.
Like imagine if Tom was playing with like the cast of Pearl Islands, he'd probably be that almost in that Rupert role, right?
Yeah.
Where, like Rupert didn't he wasn't running alliances like Tom did, but he was the guy who was like the one to beat. So I could see like a Johnny Fairplay taking out Tom in that situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say, who would you put your money on out of those people?
Out of those people?
Boston Rob, Johnny Fairplay, Robert Sesternino, Brian, and Tom.
I mean, I'm a big Sesternino fan. You know that. Mm-hmm. So like, he feels to me like you'd be the one. Him or maybe Boston Rob. But the two Robs. I feel like those two for me.
But we saw Rob run the simulation one time before his close win, right?
Yeah.
We ran the simulation and he got voted out pre-jury.
Mm.
We've seen that simulation. But
it's true.
I don't know. But maybe he wins more times than not.
Yeah.
But I'm let's not sleep on Brian now.
Yeah, we can't sleep on Mr. Freeze.
Yeah, he's like
he's ice cool, you know.
But
he did play the game very confidently and very cool and slightly.
He was never under threat, and he was someone who like behind the scenes was like saying how he was running things, but then to everybody else he was like he was such a gentleman and stuff.
Yeah.
But then he's like one vote off from losing the game to Clay Jordan.
Yeah.
So,
which is crazy. It literally, it's if you think about that, it's just insane. That's how close it was at the end.
It's also Thailand, so you're not dealing with the best cast, like the most competitive people.
Right.
So it's really hard. Survivor is so circumstantial, where it's like there's so many factors. Like, are you with the right people?
Moving parts.
Do you win a certain amount of challenges to get yourself in a good spot so you're not decimated like Oolong? Like, you could easily have just been thrown in a tribe that doesn't win any challenges and you're screwed.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd say I put my money on Brian, though. You know.
Brian can stand back and allow just things to happen, you know, and allow events to play out while he actually controls the game from the shadows.
Yeah. And we've seen him win. He actually did win. So.
Yeah, he did win, too. Yeah.
All right, well, that's Survivor Palau.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, it was a nice, healthy, long discussion about that, but it's been a while since we've talked about it. It was helpful both as a refresher and just have a nice conversation about Survivor, you know?
Mm-hmm. So, since we concluded a season of Survivor, we'll be taking about a month break, give or take, to do a season of Black Mirror, okay? But we'll be back right after that for Survivor Guatemala.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely. That's right. Guatemala. That's next.
Guatemala.
Very cool.
It's here. Okay. So look forward to that. And yeah, like I said before, there's a link in the description if you want to send any feedback for us to respond to in the future, potentially.
Yeah.
What video would you recommend our viewers watch after this?
Go check out a review of Survivor All-Stars.
Survivor All-Stars, yeah.
Yeah.
Survivor All-Stars is a really interesting season because there was so much history in it. It wasn't the best season and how things played out, but it was fun because there was just always so much to talk about.
It was a very fun season.
Well,
and you know, there's
maybe
true
fun
love.
Wouldn't be the first word I'd choose actually.
It was yeah, okay. So the beginning of it, the early parts of the season are very, very cursed. I think I used that word more than once when we were talking about it. Yeah. No, it ended up being an interesting season for sure.
Yeah.
Very interesting season.
So yeah, check out that review. And I mean, if you're new, there's a whole playlist of every Survivor video we've done. There's a ton, so
there's a lot.
Shortage of it. Pick where you want to go. Have fun. All right. Be responsible out there, though, kids. Stay safe.
Don't do too crazy about it.
As always, check us out at Tarqaron TWO, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Okay.
Yep. Stay up to date.
Subscribe to the channel. Hit the notification bell, baby.
Click all the things and such down below.
Everything. Go in the description. There's so many things in there for you to just. Sometimes I'll do just for fun. I'll go in the description, start clicking shit, see what pops up.
Ooh, that sounds a little dicey. I don't know. You should do that in our videos. Yeah, our stuff is good.
You just start clicking it and see where it takes you. And it's like, whoa, it's like. And then you discover what the internet is.
Yeah. Is our audience boomers? Is that what's going on right now?
It's like, wow, these links take you to different pages, and then it's like, oh my god, this is how this works. Okay, thanks for watching. Subscribe, like the video, and hit us up. That's it.
Do that. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.